Boom! We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Life is Chad YouTube channel. I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. Last week, I believe it was, and it's actually been a few more days since I've watched this. I wanted to record this as soon as I can, but of course, life gets in the way. But so the passion has gone away slightly, but it's still a really important video to discuss and respond to, with a lot of good principles within it, some gold, if you will. And one of the individuals that was in this podcast I was able to interview, that of course is Andrew Wilson from The Crucible. And he went on the Whatever podcast, and it was really fascinating to see a guy go on there, specifically for me, who has such overlapping views as my own. He is a newfound Orthodox Christian, as I am myself, conservative, paleo-Christian, the list goes on. So it was very interesting to see kind of his responses, which, I wasn't surprised by any of them, of course, to a panel such as the Whatever podcast is, because a lot of these red pill channels, I kind of have mixed thoughts on it. On one hand, I think that it's good to have, especially in this day and age, in a certain regard, women on to expose certain behaviors and characteristics and things of that nature. But on the other, there are things such as, and I pointed this out in the past in multiple videos, how the same girls, usually Instagram thoughts, OnlyFans thoughts, are passed around each red pill channel. You'll see them one day making the round, like you would see like a musician making the rounds on FM radio stations across the country as they're touring, to say, hey, come see me at the Austin Teletheater, 7 o'clock at 9 o'clock at night, whatever the fuck. I'll see you guys there. They do a 20-second interview. And so a lot of these girls obviously use this as advertisement for whatever they have going on, which I don't blame them for doing at all. But they get passed, or I blame more the red pill channel for not seeing this, and they get passed around all these channels. And it's like, at the end of the day, on one hand, you are pushing back against some of this delusion, some of this ridiculousness. But on the other, you are playing into the ultimate promotion of their activities. And I've had other criticisms as well. So, but they do have gold like this. And every now and again, they hit upon multiple topics, not just intersexual, interpersonal dynamics. And the topic for today is, of course, is equality possible? And there might be a few other clips that I respond to, but this is definitely the one that I want to respond to first. And, the title right there, you guys can see it. Debate: is equality achievable in society? So let's take a gander, shall we, and see what my boy Andrew has to say on this. And I guess the ladies too.
Men on brute men.
The monopoly. I'm just talking about the monopoly.
They're strong.
So one more thing I want to add to this is, and I asked Andrew, I highly recommend watching the interview. I asked Andrew about this. One of the arguments that he makes that I think is an unbeaten argument, and it's excellent when it comes to the very simple question of, is equality achievable? Is it possible? And I think any realistic, honest person would say no. You take one step inside a high school or any school system, and you'll see an immediate hierarchy establishing itself in the workforce. You just see it everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see an immediate hierarchy that develops. And his argument is essentially, hopefully I don't botch it, is who is the enforcement arm of society? Well, it's men. And enforcement means both, it means socially, mentally, as well as, and mainly physically, because that's the main aspect, and why we have seen in every other civilization, including our own, but even more so back then, where physicality was a necessity, men are the enforcement side of things. They institute whoever is in power. They institute laws. They enforce laws, and they enforce the existing system or worldview or hierarchy that exists. And so ultimately the argument is, that is the case, and we see it even nowadays, men are the predominant sex in law enforcement, military, any physicality or enforcement sector is dominated by men. Since that is the case, then ultimately, does that not mean that women need men to enforce their worldview? And I've said this argument on my channel, giving credit to Andrew many times, and it's a critique that I have of Fresh and Fit, because Fresh and Fit will go on and say, well, it's never going to happen, bro. It's never going to happen. Women are never going to give up their power. It's just never going to happen. They fought so damn hard. They're never going to give it up. But it's a false dichotomy. It's a false it's a false statement in and of itself, because it's irrelevant. If enough men were to come together and band together, feminism would cease to exist tomorrow if they decided to do so. And that's the same with democracy. If enough men got together tomorrow and said we're no longer going to have a democracy, sooner or later democracy would be gone in favor of the system that they wanted to implement. And this is where I agree with some of the Groypers worldview on this. The common notion in politics that, especially in a democracy, that you need the support of the masses at large, and you need to have this massive support in order to incorporate, enforce said worldview or change that you want to see implemented, is false. You don't need that. You need at the very most, you need a small group of determined, dedicated men that are going to see it through and make it happen. So, but of course, I will let Andrew get his argument, since, of course, he does it better.
Stronger
I feel like things are set up for men. But
can you indicate a time in history, ever in the history of all of mankind, where men didn't have the monopoly on force?
On force.
Whoa. Set up for men. I fucking cannot stand it when women say that, because the easy argument to that is, okay, do you know that men delete themselves at a far higher rate than women do? Men perform more dangerous jobs and tasks and things of that nature. Men, especially in Western society, have all the accountability of before, but even less responsibility, or excuse me, men have as much responsibility. What would it be? It's men have as much, if not more, responsibility now, but not as much authority. And that is a very stressful, tough situation to be in. In many different arenas, you can show that it is a much more difficult situation to be a man existing in the world. Men have the threat of violence at a much higher clip than women do. Now, I'm not going to get into that side of things too much for TOS purposes, but I digress.
As in like physical force, though, correct?
Like
always. They're
physical
always stronger
force.
than
Yeah.
us.
Oh, then yeah.
That's the biology.
They have the monopoly on physical force. So the question, when you come down to rights, is who can enforce rights. Women can't enforce their own rights. Men have to enforce women's rights. So there can never be.
Yeah,
real
buddy.
equality. There can
Okay.
never be real
This is-
Literally,
equality.
what the
Men are.
fuck?
I just want to say, men are.
Literally, what the fuck? Her fucking head exploded. She had no fucking idea what to even say to that because it's true. And so her fucking BW each hail response. I'm trying to do the I forget what it's called, but ixnay on the imnay. Her each each hail response says it all. Says it all.
Are a little bit more very. That is like so violent in nature.
What the
Even what you
fuck?
just said, like
Sorry.
every society, of course, you need force, but the fact that you
Guys, we got to watch it again, but all the way through without me pausing it. Their heads absolutely fucking explode. I wish I had the cinematography to be able to fucking shoot some flames out of their heads and make their heads explode on of course make believe in this clip. Here we go. Let's rewatch it.
more very. That is like so violent in nature.
What the
Even what you
fuck?
just said, like
Fuck.
Can never be real equality. There can
Okay,
never be real
this is-
equality.
Literally,
So-
what the
men are.
fuck?
I just want to say, men are a little bit more very. That is like so violent in nature.
What the
Even what you
fuck?
just said, like
Sorry.
every society, of course, you need force, but the fact that you feel like you're in because you're stronger than someone or you can overpower them, you're more entitled
No.
to some
no,
sort
no,
of
hang on,
thing.
listen, so that you get it real quick. Hang on, just
Okay.
hear me out.
Yeah.
Inside,
It's just so fucking funny because literally when they tried to restate their understanding of what he just said, he literally said none of that. He literally said none of that. Fucking crazy.
of your society,
Okay.
you have rights, right? Those rights need to be enforced, right? So somebody doesn't violate them, right? Who's the enforcement
But it's
arm?
not
Women's
usually
rights were
physically.
mostly
It
created
is
though
usually physically.
in
How?
response
What
to
do you do
men.
with criminals?
I mean, you put them in jail, but
And
like,
who does that?
There's never been a female officer ever.
I'm not saying there hasn't been, but who does that? Who puts them in jail? And then who guards them?
Yeah, the outlier does not make the rule, hun. It doesn't make the rule, hun. Sorry.
Why they're in jail?
I mean,
Men.
I don't want to say that because I know women security guards that are
but
fucking
you're-
rappers in
you
jail.
can't- You're speaking always to the exception. You always look to the outlier. It's not that there can't be some women who are on par with some men. It's that as a monolith, men are the grantors of force, the grantors of rights, and here's how.
Just real quick, I noticed this, but the African Americana
the
doing this
exception. You always look to the outlier. It's not that there can't be some women who are on par.
doing this bullshit in
and
the
then who
back.
guards them while they're in jail?
I mean,
Men.
I don't want to say that because I know women security guards
Yeah,
that are
but
fucking
you're-
rappers in
you're-
jail.
Women can't be funny, brah. They're not funny, brah.
You're speaking always to the exception. You always look to the outlier. It's not that there can't be some women who are on par with.
They can do other things. Okay. I'm not a sexist, right? After all, I'm not a sexist, but they are seldom funny.
Some men. It's that as a monolith, men are the grantors of force, the grantors of rights, and here's how. Whenever You need criminals dealt with in society. It's men who are going to be dealing with the criminals. They're going to be putting them in the jails. They're going to be enforcing your laws. They're going to be protecting you while you sleep through the military and through the
I don't
force
disagree.
there.
But have we ever given women the opportunity
Yes.
to be in
Here's
that
the amazing
place?
part. The amazing part.
Yeah, for the last fucking 50 years. Damn. Holy shit. How fucking dumb can people get, man? It's so ridiculous when women make this argument, or anybody makes this argument, because it's like, 50 years time has passed, right? That's still a significant amount of time. Maybe not in the grand scheme of history, but it's not nothing. It ain't Nathan, okay? It ain't Nathan. It's, so, and we can see even within that women still gravitate towards naturally feminine things, as shown, as in evidence by the Nordic countries, that even when they pushed and prodded for the biggest, most freedomist of choice that you can have, they still gravitated. When they were given the most choice, they gravitated towards that. Under their own inclinations, under their own natural tendencies, that is what they did, by and large.
Part is, right now they have all that opportunity and they still can't do it. Meaning,
I don't think they do.
Men inside, yes, they do. Where?
Yeah, Andrew's right. They can't, because when a majority of the time, when women enter in, and even just if you don't even take this into account, it's still the outlier. Them being in an enforcement arm is still the outlier. But when you see women that's a woman that's a firefighter, or a woman that's in law enforcement or in the military, the standards that men are tested by are dropped, or, well, just the standards in general are dropped in order for more women to be able to pass said entry test that into said institution or agency or enforcement arm. The standards decline, which is, and the same concept is true for diversity hires within business or within educational institutions. The standards are lowered because that is the only way that you will have a chance to implement this against nature, against the natural inclinations of male and female. It is the only way to make it somewhat work. And even then, it doesn't work very well, and it has tons of unintended consequences.
Where do women have less opportunity to become the enforcement arm than men in society right now? Tell me.
You just said they have a monopoly on force. I don't disagree.
Then
I think
I'm
men
asking-
are protectors, and they, like, if I have a husband, he's probably bigger than me. If someone comes to try to fight me, I'm not going to be like, oh, hold on, I got this. I'm going to expect my man
I
to
wish
handle
you
it.
would.
That's not my question.
So-
My question is, can women be police officers?
Yes.
Can they be in the
Yes.
military?
Yes.
Okay, can they be prison guards?
Yes,
Yeah.
but can
Okay, so
do
do they
all the
ever
same
have
things?
less opportunity
Yes,
to be in the enforcement arm?
because there's people
Yes.
in that employ them that hold up
That's
that
why
patriarchy.
it's called a police
No,
man.
what happens instead is this.
Because
is
they were
that
only men in the
inside of the
beginning.
military and inside the police force and inside all these different enforcement arms, when you include women, you lower the standard. You lower the standard in order to bring women in. Meaning the female standards in the military.
Physically?
Yes, physically. So
But
the
you
standard.
need nurses in the military. You need women.
You don't
they're
need
not
them.
helping us, Ramani.
But they are there.
You don't need a nurse in the. You don't need.
You don't need
doctors in the
female
military.
nurses. You could have male nurses.
I'm just
True,
going on,
true.
Like, more of the
Fuck,
traditional
Andrew.
values of, like,
Yeah, what I'm
almost
just
like-
talking about an equalization of force. Men have an overwhelming amount of power and force, and so women can't actually enforce their rights against men, whereas men can change the conditions almost any time they want based on their will because they have the monopoly of force.
You don't think that's because that's how it's been set up in time and history for them?
If it wasn't for men,
Skiz
though,
Tech, thank you for the gifted 100 subs.
Yeah, it's only because that's how it's been set up, and emphasis on the set up rather than, and this is the thing that they miss. See, non-Christians and mainly modernists in today's age, as much as they say that they love science and you know, the worldview that accompanies science, you know, observation and you know, well, mainly observation and shit like that. You know, I will not believe anything unless I've seen it and it's repeatable and many times over. It will not be a fact in my eyes unless I can observe it and it's repeatable many times over. I think that's literally the definition of a theory or a hypothesis. But, and of course, the theory is different than a hypothesis. I think that's the definition of theory. But they are willing to see or consider that there is a naturalness, a natural nature to men and women that exists. Something to which Christians, Muslims, and really most religious people, but mainly, you know, I would say people within the Abrahamic faiths, acknowledge no problem that there is a nature to really anything that exists. There's an essence. Now, I would say essence and nature are slightly different, you know, if you really wanted to dive into it. But just for the sake of our discussion here, this is not hard for me to understand because I acknowledge that males and females have a nature. And somebody like me would say that it is a God-given nature. And you end up getting this backward society. And yes, in some aspect, you could argue that it's evil because when you're going against your God-given nature, especially the good parts of it, then you're turning towards evil. Now, that's another rabbit hole. But this is, again, this is not a difficult concept for the likes of spiritual, Abrahamic, you know, Christians, Muslims, you know, I'd probably even throw Jewish individuals in there, that there is a nature that exists pretty much in everything, but especially in humankind. Let's watch a little bit more.
No, it's not. The reason that it's that way is because men are overwhelmed.
And that is why when they hear him say this, it has to be that it was a system that was in place, not that the reason the system was put into place is because of said nature that motivated said system.
Physically stronger than women.
Who were women's rights protecting us from, though? I'm like, a general. Were they protecting women from other women, or women from, as you said, the people who hold the monopoly on brute force?
No. Women
they're not
are
really
never
protecting anybody from anything because
Right.
they're an illusion. It's
But
illusory.
if
That's
you were
right.
to answer my question,
That's right, Andrew. They're not protecting anybody from anything because specifically women can never really be the protectors. So therefore, feminism cannot ever be the protection of, in the way that she's saying. Feminism can be the protector of women if you are willing to acknowledge that men are the real enforcers of said ideology.
and the reason that women felt so strongly,
They didn't feel strongly. The suffragettes were a small portion. Most most women did not want the right. When I can't even get into this, but most women did not want most of these rights. Okay, I can't get into it for TOS reasons, but most of them didn't even want them.
I'm not
What ended
disagreeing.
up happening instead was
It sounds like you're fucking disagreeing. It sounds like you're disagreeing. As Rollo Tomasi always says, in the West, in everybody, including men, unfortunately, but really with women, there is, because of how much it has infiltrated society, Western society, there is at least a little bit of that ideology within them. And you can see it with her, how she's saying she doesn't disagree, but the years and years and years of having these false teachings come across her, and this, manipulation and propaganda coming across her, is clinging and saying, no, I can't just agree with what Andrew's saying. And I damn for sure cannot argue for it. It's just funny. On one hand, she's saying she agrees. She said twice that she agrees with it, but she's arguing with pretty much everything Andrew says. All right, we'll watch a little bit more. We'll be done.
that it was a small collective of very weak men who really pushed through with a lot of money to push feminists and these feminist ideals through. But most women didn't want anything to do with it because, here, let me, if you don't mind, if you'll humor me, let me read these.
So that's pretty much it, because they knew how good they had it, and they knew the truth. Women who have fathers and women who have been brought up in the faith, of course, it's not always the case, and who have brothers and shit like that, and who have just a little, just a cent worth of sense and a little understanding and logic, know that they had it good, that they had it real good. And, it's sad that basically it's very sad that the propaganda that has come forth and brainwashed a lot of Western women is that women have been these battered and bruised and oppressed and pinned down individuals, that if they could just get rid of men, that it would be that much better. It's absurd. And as I said when I interviewed Andrew, men deep down inside want nothing more than to earn the adoration of a woman, to earn the respect of a woman, to earn the love and support of a woman, vis-a-vis treating her with kindness, treating her well, being good to her. Are there assholes? Are there mentally ill men and shit like that? Of course, that exists with anything and everything. It's never going to be a one size fits all. But by and large, men are not these individuals that wake up and say, you know what, today I want to oppress, I want to pin down, and I want to cage this wild femininity. No. And any pushback that men do give on this faux free femininity or free women being free, any pushback on all that, it is out of genuine concern, better understanding, and love, honestly. So very interesting. I thought Andrew did a great job. Never easy to go into the lion's den and slay a beast. Never easy. But I thought he did well. And I will be reacting more. There's a few more clips that I thought were really good. Probably one with regards to this woman going on 50 dates, this young woman going on 50 dates, and hearing her green flags and red flags and what she's looking for. It was just exhausting hearing all of it, but I thought it was a good clip nonetheless, and I think it would be very educational. But we will get to that. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys. Be sure to smash that like button, support your boy, support a fellow Kang. At the very least, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DDAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, our feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, King. See you guys next time. Christ is King. Peace.